quando riparte anni dos. Si cree que resta 2.252. Sí, si cree que resta menos 3. ¿Entiendes? Hay 253 y tras N menos 3 para que guardemos es seguridad marítima. Así, en vez de ponerlo en rama 17.1, cambia esto en 14.3. Es algo que concierne la rama 14.3, ¿no? Sí, es nuevo. Tiene que desglosar, ¿no? Es que transporte marítimo es para facilitar a nivel de transporte marítimo, ¿no?
Pero ¿sabes? ¿De qué hacen los marineros? Entran labor si hay otra Comité Nacional de Seguridad y Protección Marítima.
No, eso sí.
Por Dios.
Hay otra entidad que se cree también sobre el transporte marítimo. ¿Dónde está? Sí, esto no se desglosó. Pero se tiene que adaptar porque las cosas evolucionan. Comment expliquer à Lucia son estimation d'expérience para no guardar os montantes com na ventilação anterior, porque la de ANIF, okay, es una agencia de vigilancia también, porque la de ANIF que aplicó, porque será una agencia de vigilación, ¿no? De vigilancia. Aïe, c'est dur, hein, de mélanger du français, de l'espagnol. Monsieur Georges n'est pas avec nous. Il y a... oui, tu me dis quoi, regarde?
Como que
Ele a dit quoi? Majuna.
Madonna, que significa digo que
Le soleil dit que tu me dis quoi?
en la ley es suficiente de la encuesta.
Si ves en el presupuesto de Sequefila hay también cargadores, que está 150,000. Supongo que es cosas de el transporte marítimo, los que están en el puerto que cargan los cargadores. Hay una subvención de 150,000. Para los cargadores, este presupuesto o para un identificativo se añaden muchas cosas. Voy a crear mi identidad autónoma. Y ponemos cuentas nacionales, ¿no?
¿Será una agencia? Es una agencia de cargadores.
Yo no sé.
Tendrá que tener una oficina.
Pero está en el presupuesto, ¿no? ¿Han visto cargadores? Pero, mira. Pero les digo que hay una fila de 150 millones.
Leona? Hello, Leona and Buela. How are you? Can you hear me?
You can.
Hello? I can see Mr. Edward.
Et en página, c'était
I think I can use this. Okay. No sound.
Hello, can you hear me? Hello, Evelyn and Edward. Can you hear me? I can see Edward and Evelyn.
Yes, we can hear you. Can you hear us?
Yes, we can. I can hear you very clearly.
Thank you.
Okay. Are you with Leona?
Yes.
Leona, as we are about to start in the next 2 minutes, I would kindly request that if you have if you can make sure that all people come when they are mute, that would be wonderful, so that we don't get interrupted when we start.
I already did.
Oh, okay, Bella, thank you so much. Glad to hear you and to have you here.
Okay.
Okay, so we should be starting in the next few minutes. I can see that we already have 18 participants, so we should wait more time so that people can join. Thank you.
Hello.
Hello.
Hey, this is Sam Ogume. I can hear you properly. Good afternoon, everybody.
Good afternoon, Sam. This is Peter.
Peter, yeah, glad to hear from you.
Glad to hear from you and to have you here with us.
Hi, Sam. Good to hear you.
Oh, Sophia, how are you?
Very good, thank you. I look forward to this. It's going to be very interesting.
This is exciting.
Yeah. Glad when you.
So we should wait for maybe we should be kicking off in the next 3 minutes. Should wait for more people to join.
Yeah, let's start in a couple of minutes.
Hi, Sophia. Hi, Sam. Hi, others. Looking forward to the presentations.
Hi, hello.
Hi, everybody.
Hi, everyone. Hi, it's Peter. Peter, how you doing?
Hi, everyone. We should be starting in 1 minute. May I know whether all the presenters are ready and on the line already?
I am on.
Okay.
Yeah.
Greetings to you all. I think we should start. Others will find us on the way. As we have limited time and we have so much to share today. So allow me to start this webinar and welcome you all. Dear Africa NCA community members, dear all participants here today, we welcome you to this community of practice webinar series. Specifically, we are starting today a new webinar series on new country experiences. We welcome you to this exciting webinar, which is going to be focusing on the experiences and the work that has been done with our sister country, Uganda, with an exciting theme, Uganda building a comprehensive landscape for NCA and policy application. Dear members, it's worth noting today that this month of November 2019, here in Kampala, Uganda, though we are on virtual, but again, we are in Uganda, participants from 18 African countries expressed unanimous support for the creation of the community of practice on natural capital accounting in Africa. That has been in discussion for several years. So today, practically, it's Africa NCA community of practice 1 year old. Thank you all for making it happen. So again, we are starting a new product, which is the new country experiences webinar series. And again, we are starting with Uganda today. Thank you, Uganda, for keeping the momentum going. The community of practice family, together with the World Bank, would like to start by thanking our sister country, Uganda. Thank you, dear Miss Lucy and the team, for the great work you are doing and your willingness to share your findings, lessons learned with fellow African countries. The community of practice members are looking forward to learn from your NCA work and journey, and hopefully follow into your footsteps to take forward NCA work within their respective African countries. Dear community members, today we have a very busy day, but exciting one. We will have more than 3 presentations. And I would like, before we go into the details, the agenda, and the rest of how the webinar will proceed, without taking more time, as we have a tight webinar agenda schedule, let me welcome Miss Lucy Iyango to give the webinar introductory remarks and officially declare this webinar open. Miss Lucy is the Assistant Commissioner, Wetlands Management Department, Minister of Water and Environment, from Uganda. Miss Lucy Iyango is an applied environmentalist with over 25 years of experience in supporting and promoting initiatives for different stakeholders to ensure sustainable use and management of natural resources, specifically wetlands. So without much ado, Miss Lucy, you may proceed with your introductory remarks.
Thank you very much, Peter, for this opportunity. It is a pleasure indeed to be under your moderation again. Last year it was quite exciting. On behalf of the government of Uganda, we are excited, as you have already said, very, very excited. And the that we lead by example. By several different development partners. Way back in 2000, we started this evaluation study, and through almost 20 years, we have moved to a place where we have almost perfected the landscape for natural capital accounting. Why do I say that? Because as you will listen to the presenters, you will note that they are from different institutions. And for Uganda, we have had support not only from the World Bank, we've had support from IUCN, WCN. We have had support from different partners. And that goes to show the fact that we had and we still do have fertile ground for learning. We have had south-to-south learning. We have learned from our neighbors. One of the things that I will emphasize is the willingness to learn is one important thing. The second thing is the willingness to be committed to the process up to the end, no matter how rigorous, no matter how tiring. The other thing that I would like to add to that is the ability and will to learn, capacity development, and then of course, at the end of the day, engaging our seniors at the topmost level. I want to tell you that last year, in February, we were challenged by the president of Uganda. He asked us, why are you restoring these wetlands? What do they contribute to the government, to the national economy? And as we were fumbling with the answers, he said, okay, tell me, what is the return if you restore these wetlands? And he gave us a quick computation there and then. That is support at the highest level. That landscape can only be sustained with support at the highest level. The involvement of the ministries of finance, those who allocate money, those who change those signs to make them more enough for us to serve. So as we go, the Ministry of Water, the Ministry of Finance team, the Uganda Bureau of Statistics. On Friday, we were shining again, launching the last set of accounts and closing the WAVES program. But it looked like we're just beginning another program. So colleagues, let's listen, let's give time to make input, and together we can move forward. Together we can share, and we are willing to back you up, to work with you, to mentor, and also to learn from you, because learning never ends. So with those few remarks, I would like to declare this webinar open, and thank you very much for organizing it. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Lucy. Thank you for that wonderful introductory remarks. this takes us directly to what we've been expecting from Uganda. It's very exciting that Uganda, as from the words of Miss Lucy, they have learned from others. They have kept the pace, and they are willing now to share what they have learned and what they have achieved with other sister African countries through the South-South learning. And it's exciting that what we are going to see today and what we are going to hear today will help us. But again, taking forward the words of Miss Lucy, please, members, open up your mind and the opportunities here, and have the willingness to learn and to stick to the process within your respective countries. So with that, Ms. Lucy, we thank you so much. And due to the time that we have, I will kindly request that now we go directly to the agenda of the day. Today we expect mainly 3 presentations. The first presentation will come from Mr. Ronald Kagwa, presenting on NCA development in Uganda, achievements, challenges, lessons learned. Mr. Ronald is the manager, production, tourism, trade planning, and national planning at Uganda Planning Authority. Mr. Kagwa coordinated the development of several strategic plans, including the Uganda Green Growth Development Strategy, Agriculture and Natural Resources-based strategic plans, and the National Development Plans for Uganda. The next presenter will be Dr. Mugume Sam Kojo, Principal Statistician, Minister of Finance, Planning and Economic Development, Uganda. His presentation will focus on adjusted macroeconomic indicators report. And Dr. Sam has over 25 years of professional experience as a development planner, macroeconomic analyst, and field researcher. He's a passionate about wildlife conservation and environment management. The third and the last presenter for today's webinar will be Mr. Edward Senyonjo, Coordinator, Inventory, Surveys and Mapping, National Forestry Authority, Uganda. Mr. Senyonjo is a forester with over 15 years of professional work experience in the areas of remote sensing and geographical information system, GIS, in natural resource management. All members, all presenters have been allocated 10 minutes each, and I would kindly request that each member stick to that allocated so that we can be able to manage time. And the last part of the agenda, we will have open questions and answers session with the audience. And here I would kindly request that members of the community of practice, kindly, you will see in our webinar that there is room for chat. Please go there when presenters are presenting and try to share your experience, questions and answers. We will answer them at the end of the 3 presentations. We will not have questions answered every after presenter, because we want to manage the time well. So allow us to start with the presentations, the 3 presentations, and later on we will have an open question and answer session. So without taking much time, let me now welcome the first presenter, Mr. Ronald Kagwa, to present his first presentation. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Chair. Thanks very much, Lucy. And thanks for all the organization that has been done to facilitate this process. I'm presenting Uganda's achievements, the lessons learned, the potential policy uses of the natural capital accounts. I hope you are listening in. Is that so? Hello? Hello?
Yes, we can hear you, Leonard.
Okay, thank you. Yes, my presentation has been shared out, and those are the issues that I want to look at. Now, the key objective that Uganda Natural Capital Accounting set out to do is to mainstream natural capital into development policy dialogue and planning. Specifically, to inform the process of developing the National Development Plan 3 and other national and sectoral policies. Natural capital accounting in Uganda also set out to increase understanding of the real contribution of natural assets and ecosystems to the economy, and how the economy and other sectors affect this natural capital base. Now, the program looked at 3 components. The first component was accounts development, where we set out to develop the land physical asset accounts, forest and wood resource accounts, and then the initial. Another component of the Ugandan Natural Capital Accounting Program was coming out with the targeted studies and issues papers. We produced a paper on adjacent macroeconomic indicators, fuel wood assessment, statistical and economic analysis of tourism, and then the natural capital accounting and how it can inform the NDP3 process. Also, institutional engagement in terms of capacity building and policy dialogue, where we underwent trainings, we had knowledge exchange, knowledge sharing mechanisms. We also had interinstitutional dialogue and communication with the different stakeholders within and outside the country. Now let me look at the program and how it was implemented. Now the program was implemented through formation of a technical working group. This was a multi-institutional technical working group chaired by the Ministry of, by the Uganda Bureau of Statistics, the Ministry of Finance, Planning and Economic Development, and the National Planning Authority. These were the 3 co-chairs of that technical working group. Now, this working group brought together agencies, some of whom are data providers, data users, and policymakers. The program was hinged on multi-agency collaboration among its key institutions. Collaboration is the key to the success of natural capital accounting programs. Now let's look at the components and what we were able to achieve. We were able to prepare and launch the land and physical asset accounts. The report, we have that report, and that report can be found on the UBOS website. And this detailed the physical changes of Uganda's land use and land cover over a period of 1990 to 2015. How has land use in Uganda changed over time? We also completed the wood asset and the forest resource accounts reports. We also produced a brief for policymakers. We also initiated the creation of ecosystem accounts, and these are outlined in the report that we produced. And these reports are also available on various websites. Now, the land and physical asset accounts of 2019 showed the land use changes as a result of human activity. Human activity in forms of agriculture and natural resource processes. Maps and diagrams were drawn for 14 land cover classes, where we discovered that the use of land for subsistence agriculture increased significantly. Uganda still has a big section of subsistence agriculture. But also, one of the most striking, discovery or finding of these physical asset accounts was that Uganda has lost forest and woodlands. We have lost our natural assets in the form of forests and woodlands. Now, the physical and we also produced the forest account in 2020. Now, these are the physical, and these were in physical and monetary terms, and they covered basically the forest and woodlands, but also the assets and some selected wood products. We discovered that while forest area in Uganda declined by 60% from 1990 to 2015, the total value of forest land increased by 26%. The scarcity of land, of forest land, increased its value by 26.7%. Wood available for supply decreased by 53%. And this expanded the deficit, the wood supply deficit, by 22 times between 2000 and 2015. However, the wood demand doubled between 2015 and 2040, from 48 metric tons to 105 metric tons. So the demand for wood is increasing. And I've got various maps, to this effect. So we have had many changes in our physical flows, many changes in the carbon storage, changes in water yield. All these have, been effects as a result of the changing, forest cover. Now, what were our achievements? Now, we achieved, apart from accounts, we were able to have publications of issue papers on adjusted macroeconomic indicators, which showed the adjusted net national income and the adjusted net savings, and how they deviate from GDP. We use the GDP, but when you carry out these adjustments, you discover that GDP does not give the whole picture of the state, of the natural assets, of the state of wealth of the country. We also prepared and published an issues paper on wood fuel, detailing the use of wood fuel in Uganda over the years. We also carried out a publication on natural capital accounting and its links to national development planning, and it made recommendations to NDP3. I'm happy to say that the National Development Plan 3, considers natural capital accounting as a key tool for natural resource management, and their strategies and interventions to ensure that natural capital accounting, is taken forward. We also support the development of statistical and economic analysis of Uganda's tourism expenditure. Tourism is Uganda's second leading foreign exchange earner, and therefore it was also taken into account. And we are preparing reports on adjusted macroeconomic indicators. We discovered that the macroeconomic indicators we have today are not very useful. They don't show the right picture. Therefore, our macroeconomic department of the Ministry of Finance is developing adjusted, macroeconomic indicators to give a true picture of how things, are. So there are quite a number of issues papers that I want to interest you in looking at. Now, natural capital is Uganda's second, leading wealth. If you look at the wealth of Uganda, the greatest wealth is human, capital, followed by natural capital, and then manufactured produced capital is the third component of our wealth. So the renewable natural capital is being depleted. Wealth creation is part of Uganda's, ambition, as reflected in Vision 2040, as well as NDP3. But natural capital is going down. Now, if we compare the gross national saving and adjusted capital to GDP rates, we discover that, of course, Uganda depends on agricultural commodities, minerals, oil and gas, as well as the service of tourism. Now, all the sectors, as you will note, depend on natural capital. Now, the adjusted net national income measures the degree to which income is sustainable in the short term. In the short time, we need to see whether income is sustainable. So, adjusted net national income is a short-term measure. If you are to measure wealth indicates the prospects of a country over a long-term period. We also had adjusted national savings. These create a link between income and wealth. Our savings as a country are going down because of the depletion of our natural capital assets. What did we achieve? We made publications and therefore contribute to extend the frontiers of knowledge on natural capital, not only in Uganda, but also in the region and beyond. We were exposed to the international best practices in natural capital. We had study tours to the Netherlands, where we exchanged, notes and best practices with Statistics Netherlands as well as Zambia. We participated in regional meetings, global and regional communities of practice. There was one in France that we attended. We also hosted one in Uganda, and all these were opportunities for exchange of knowledge. Again, one key achievement of the Ugandan natural capital accounting is the institutionalization of natural capital. The multi-agency technical working group enhances interagency collaboration. You cannot produce natural capital accounts without collaboration. So that one is an institutional mechanism for continued collaboration. And a natural capital unit was established in the Uganda Bureau of Statistics. And this is a nominal achievement for a Bureau of Statistics to establish, a unit with staff paid for by the government. There was also communication that we produced in various briefs. We've had launches that have been publicized, and we've had engagements with quite a number of stakeholders on these publications. We also have a plan. I think one of the few countries that have got a plan, a national plan for advancing environmental economic accounting. The plan recognizes the need to report on SDGs. So we are using natural capital accounting as a mechanism for reporting on SDGs, the SDG indicators. It also gives us a roadmap to develop a natural capital accounting system. This has also been done. One of the few countries that have got a plan. What lessons did we learn? We learned that natural capital accounting requires partnerships at international, national, and regional levels. It requires local capacity, and we're happy to say that these accounts were produced by our people. We did not hire international consultants, we had Ugandan consultants doing these accounts. This also requires critical policy entry points that you need to tap. The development of the National Development Plan was a critical entry point that we maximized. So, natural capital accounting is crucial and is embedded now in the machinery of government. There is need to prioritize data collection, which is important for the implementation of this. Interministerial agents and collaboration are also critical. Hello? As I wind up, therefore, what is the policy relevancy? It is important that we measure natural capital to promote economic evaluation of selected ecosystems and their services. We are also integrating natural capital and ecosystem services accounting into the system of national accounts. We are building sectoral, institutional, and local capacity in natural capital accounting. So going beyond, we are using natural capital to inform decision making, planning processes, and policy making. We're implementing the roadmap, that's the national plan that we developed. We also strengthen coordination and technical roles of UBOS. UBOS requires to be supported, to be strengthened in all this. We are generating data and we are constructing new accounts, and other collaborations have been forged. So, allow me, Chair and colleagues, to appreciate the support of the World Bank team and the WOS program. without which we wouldn't have produced these accounts. We send our appreciations to the UNSD and the UN Environmental Programme, the World Conservation Monitoring Center, UNEP, WCMC, and of course, we are proud members of the Gaborone Declaration of Sustainability in Africa, and also the Africa Natural Capital Accounting Community of Practice. Ladies and gentlemen, I thank you for listening. I submit.
Thank you so much, Mr. Leonard. Thank you for that wonderful presentation. Looking at what you have achieved as a country, it's a recommendable job. And looking at where you're heading in terms of institutionalization, you are a country each of us as African countries should learn from. And getting to know that you already have a national plan to advance the environmental economic account. This is exciting news, and I think so many African countries will be coming to you or calling on you to learn from you. With that, allow me to wind up on this presentation and proceed to the next presentation from Dr. Sam Kojo, who will be presenting on adjusted macroeconomic indicators report. Mr. Dr. Mugume Sam, please kindly, you are welcome to make your presentation, and please kindly stick to the 10 minutes that are allocated to you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Peter, and thank you everybody who's listening in, and good afternoon to everyone again. I hope you are hearing me. Is that okay?
I can hear you clearly.
You can hear me clearly, and hope Evelyn is going to share my screen presentation. That first of all, I'm really, it's a great opportunity for me to be here to make a presentation to the community of NCA participating group, high level team. My first time to make this presentation here. It's my first time to be. Evelyn, can I have my presentation? Thank you. And it's exciting for me to present after Mr. Kagwa, who's really done a
Mr. Leonard, Mr. Dr. Sam, can you allow me to make one announcement?
Okay.
Dear participants, all participants, can you kindly all mute so that we can listen to Dr. Sam? Kindly all mute. Bola can help us to mute all except Dr. Sam. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Peter.
Dr. Sam, you can proceed.
Yes, I was muted, but now I'm back. And like I said, there's still some background noise, but that's okay. Like I said, I'm excited to present after Ronald Kagwa, who did a good job on making sure he tells us what we've done as a country. And he briefly talked about the adjusted macroeconomic indicators, which as a country we decided to come up and have this report for adjusted macroeconomic indicators, because our intention is basically to use the natural capital accounts and the indicators that we get out of them for to inform policy, to inform physical policies mostly, where we have the revenue and expenditure and the allocation of resources. This, for all economists, this is a very important data. We may have the figures, we may know how much depletion we're making to natural capital, and these reports can sit somewhere and not be read by economists and other people involved in the fiscal policy considerations. But one of the things that we thought as a country, right, was to come up and make sure that we have the adjusted macroeconomic indicators, which comes from the other indicators at macroeconomic level. We basically, at that level, we look at economic growth, we look at employment, we look at gross national income, we look at gross national savings, and the rest. But all these do not take into consideration natural capital depletion. But these are the ones where we base to say we shall allocate so much and so much to a certain area, and we think we are progressing. But Mr. Kagwa, the way he brought it out clearly, is that we may have to look at these figures, say our economic growth has been on average 7%, and say we're all happy. But what are we doing to our natural capital? And this is why we move and go, say, going beyond GDP measures, and we talk about adjusted macroeconomic indicators, two of them, one, the adjusted net national income, and the adjusted net national savings. Evelyn? And basically, I would want us first to look at the methodology. This is to all economists and to most people who are there. We know conventional methods of coming up with, and we know what GDP means. You can go consumption, you can look at the total consumption, you can look at the consumption side, the production side, and also look at the value addition. And this is where we start from. The conventional ways will give us the GDP, we'll do the adjustments and come to gross national income. I'm sure everybody understands how we reach at that level, and the net national income. Here at this level, for us, what we do, we go ahead from the net national income and deduct consumption of natural capital, such as energy, minerals, and timber resources, and the rest. And also, this gives us adjusted net national income. But I would like to mention, this is not a method that we're using just as Uganda as a country. It's a method that is being used by World Bank. If you go to their website, you'll get the adjusted macroeconomic indicators. You'll get also the measures of country wealth. But what do we do that is different from what is on the World Bank website and what the World Bank does? We've used as much as possible the local information, the local data, where possible, and where we cannot get that information, we continue to use the World Bank data, but with emphasis that in future, we should be able to change this data to be localized. When it comes to adjusted net savings, we also start from the gross national savings as we do measures it in the conventional method, the net national savings. At the level of net national saving, we add their education expenditure. This education expenditure is a proxy for investment in human capital. We look at both government expenditure and non-government expenditure. It's always difficult to come up with the government expenditure, which is private expenditure on education. Luckily enough, what we had done some years of satellite accounts for education. Our National Statistical Office had this, so we extrapolated forward, backward, and forward so that we can be able to get the private spending on education, and then we can be able to add that and get total expenditure on education. This is somewhat complex, and maybe questions will come. Then after we do minus depletion of natural capital, that's where we go in forestry, the forestry depletion, energy depletion, and after that, we consider pollution damages. And once we've adjusted for those three, then we have what we call adjusted net savings. And this is adjusted net savings right from gross national savings. Evelyn, move on. The results. Because if you look at the results that we have here are going to be quite different from the results that the World Bank, if you look at Uganda under the World Bank website, basically because we use the prices, the country prices for the depletion of resources, say wood, how much is a cubic meter of wood considered to be here in terms of value as compared to national level. That gives us a big difference. Also, the right product. Briefly, the results that we're getting here show that for us, there is an increased ANI increased by adjusted net national income increased by 5%, 5.7%, and increased by 5.7% from 2017 to 2018. And also, this is compared to 6% increase registered between 2016 and 2017. We have 2018 because the data comes in a lag of 1 2 years, and also much as there's this increase, Evelyn, much as there's this increase of 5.7% on the adjusted net national income, I would like to make a disclaimer that it may not, it's not the things that we did in 1 year as depletion is concerned, but also there was correction of information regarding the depletion rates, and the pricing. So the rate, you shouldn't compare 2017 and 2018 and say, oh, this increase is 5.7% increase directly. But what I encourage you to look at mostly is that the adjusted net savings for Uganda at the moment is around 25,000 United States million dollars. And then when it came to adjusted net savings, I asked Evelyn to go back, but she didn't. That's why I was looking at some other screen for my previous slide. But Evelyn, now I'm done with that. Thank you so much. When you come to the adjusted net savings, again, we find we have our adjusted net savings also declined by 8.5 percentage points from 2017 to 2018. And this decline stands in stark contrast to the increase of 11.1 percentage points from 16 to 2017. There are many reasons to this, and we'll be able to discuss later, but let me first finish my presentation. Evelyn, go on. And also, when we look at the adjusted net savings, our results, which I don't have on this slide, we have adjusted net savings. If you look at it, the whole, this report is on the website, is gross national income is 18% of gross national income. But our net savings, which is not adjusted, is around 25%. So what does this tell us? It tells us that there's a lot of depletion that we don't consider when we use conventional methods of measurement of macroeconomic indicators. And when we look at, we use the adjusted macroeconomic indicators, we realize where we are and how much we're depleting the natural capital. Next, Evelyn. What do these tell us? What does all this information, what does it tell us as a country? One of the things that it tells us is that, yes, we are growing, we are moving on well, but we are using our natural capital, because when you see the decline, that shows that over time, we may start going to negative. At the moment, very right, Uganda's economic growth is still not based on, is not depleting, is not based on the fact that there's gross depletion of natural capital. But the trend of decreasing and increasing shows that there's a likelihood for us to move to depletion part side of it and go to negative. And that's why we came up with the following broad policy recommendations. One, we said we need to increase domestic savings and stock of physical capital. Remember, if you look at domestic savings, the results show that domestic savings is going down. That means we are consuming a lot. Most of what we're getting of national income goes to consumption with reduced savings. And our recommendation here is we should be able to increase savings. And the stock of physical capital, because one of the things that we realized was when we came to adjusted net national saving, the biggest negative impact was from consumption of fixed capital. So consumption of fixed capital, that's depreciation, was very high. The point here to make is that we should invest more in saving and physical capital stock by making sure that there's operation and maintenance of our physical capital. Two, we also realize that there was continued decline in education spending, both by the government and private sector. And this is a proxy for us in terms of investment in human capital. We are saying increase human capital and its productivity. Do this basically at the moment we're looking at doing it by putting more money into the education sector, not necessarily the formal education sector, but both the informal and formal education. Two, three, we realized that also our biggest negative was coming from increased pollution. We are saying reducing emissions and deliberately increasing vegetation cover and forest cover. Both these look at the emissions, deliberately to look at the emissions once they decrease, then there will be a positive on the emissions. And when we say deliberately increase vegetation cover and forest cover, that means because on the depletion of forest resources, we put including the growth rate of forest. So once you are increasing the forest cover, you are basically reducing the negative on the savings and on the income of the country. And these are three broad ones, which we split into different specific ones, like ensuring productive assets are properly maintained so as to extend their lifespan and reduce annual consumption of fixed capital. Also, like I said, here we state and say reducing pollution from carbon dioxide and related emissions and particulate emissions damage. Also, to increase real savings further, there is need for more innovative strategies to promote savings in the economy, and increasing public and private spending on education. I talked about that. And then considering the adoption of sustainable budgeting rule and accompanying measures to ensure that future physical revenues from minerals, energies are spent wisely. We are now considered as an oil, as a natural source rich country because we have oil coming on board soon. We shall see increase in GDP, increase in growth, but we want to continue to make sure that we have these indicators considered for depletion, adjusted net savings, and adjusted net national income to ensure that policy makers are aware of what we're doing. Lastly, in conclusion, I would say for us, this is a very good tool for making sure that policymakers understand the depletion of natural capital that is going on, including others like Ronald said. We are into making sure our NDP3, recently we've done an extrapolation of the two indicators to show the trend that we expect, and we're working closely with NPA, and these are going to be monitored in the next 5 years of the current NDP. So we are doing a good job. And lastly, as maybe an advice, how have we taken it up as a ministry and as Uganda in particular? You know, those of you who are conversant with the activities of macroeconomic policy in Ministry of Finance are aware that this is not a formal report that comes on every time. It's not our requirement as ESA. But what we've done is to make sure it is within our work plan, and the macroeconomic policy department is going to be producing this report annually, starting with last year. Last year we had the first version. We've had the version for this year and all through. And then we will be able to present it to our policymakers. I would like to thank everybody for listening in and expect questions. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Dr. Sam, for that well-detailed presentation. We've seen the methodology and the findings. It's interesting to find that at national level, the adjusted net savings declined by 8.5%, in contrast to the normal conventional growth projections of 11.6. It will be, of course, Dr. Sam, it will be very interesting when we open up for questions and answers to discuss how this is going to impact the next round of policies and planning. As you mentioned, to take forward the Uganda's Sustainable Development Agenda. So thank you so much. Let me have this opportunity to invite the next presenter, the last but not the least, Mr. Edward Senyonjo. Mr. Edward is going to present on the results of the forest accounts and policy applications. Mr. Edward, kindly stick within the 10 minutes so that we can get time to open for community members to have more questions, clarifications, and discuss on how they are going to learn from you and implement from their respective countries. Sam, Senyonjo, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Edward Senyonjo. I work with the National Forest Authority as coordinator of inventory and surveys. I have been part of this process, producing these accounts, and I'm glad that I've been given this opportunity to present the results from the forest account side. Thank you. Looking at the objective of these accounts was to help Uganda achieve the sustainable increase in the economic, social, and environmental benefits derived from forests and trees. And we know that this has not been it has not been getting a good focus before, but now we are glad that it's being focused on as a very important resource for the country. It is also the second objective was to ensure that the wood stocks are conserved and managed this generation without compromising what the future generations are going to be using, so that they should also enjoy what we're enjoying now. The methodology that we're using is the United Nations System of Environmental Economic Accounting Central Framework, as has already been alluded to by the previous two presenters. And we looked at both the physical and the monetary assets of the wood and other selected forestry products for the years stretching from 1990, 2000, 2005, 2010, and 2015. We also attempted to make projections for the year 2040. The scope of this is at national level. It is intended to help in the implementation of the National Forestry and Tree Planting Act of 2003, and also the Forestry Policy of 2001, as well as the Local Government Act of the Act of Chapter 243. All this is geared towards improved natural resource management, particularly the forests, which we have already seen that we depend on considerably. The scope also considers all wood assets from the forest, whether existing naturally or just produced here. This includes both exports and imports. And we have subdivided them into two groups, the wood products and the non-wood products. And the non-wood, under the wood products, we have got the wood fuel, which is basically charcoal and firewood. And we have also sawn wood and poles. The non-wood products we'll consider were shea oil, Prunus africana bark, and the sandalwood oil. And this was at national level. Next slide. The key sources of information were mainly the National Forest Authority, which engages in the extensive inventory of wood biomass using systems like the exploratory inventory, integrated stock survey, management inventory, permanent sample plots, among others, which are done both in the protected areas like forest reserves and also outside on the privately owned land. NF also undertakes the National Land Use Land Cover Mapping, which is done by the GIS unit, which covers the country wall to wall. And it also helps in synthesizing this information at various levels, from national, regional, down up to the district level. The partners where we have been getting information that was used are WBOS, as already mentioned, through their numerous household surveys, MAIF, the Ministry of Agriculture, Animal Industry and Fisheries, among others. Maybe I'll take this opportunity to also mention that most of these activities have been done by support, with support from our partners, like the World Bank, FAO, IUCN, WCS, JGI, and among others, to come up with this information that has been used to come up with these figures. Among the results, we looked at the aggregate wood stock, and what stood out was that we have faced a big reduction of about 45% when you consider the time period from 1990 to 2015. Thereby, we have
Hello, Edward, we have lost you. Edward? Hello, Edward? Can members from Uganda know what is happening to Edward?
I think Evelyn is finding out, but should
Okay.
be at work, or maybe he's coming back.
Okay. Let's wait for a few minutes.
Or maybe Peter, wait. There are some questions.
Hello, members. We have lost Edward. When he comes, we can continue. For us to be able to manage time, I would want to take this opportunity to open for some questions. Take some questions to the previous two presenters. Edward, are you back? Dear members, if you have questions, comments, or clarification to the previous presenters, please go ahead. Thank you.
So we have one question from Jaap Arnsen in the chat. I don't know, Jaap, if you want to come in.
Not really. I think the question is clear. Can you hear me?
Okay, so the question is, it is difficult to institutionalize and sustain NCA. What is Uganda's secret? And are there challenges left?
Oh yeah, that's a great question. I don't know if Ronald is on, but I can start. I can go on. He will add on. Oh yes, it is. Honestly, the observation is right. It's difficult to make sure that NCA is sustained in a country, especially we all know setups as the unless really a country is very, very ready to utilize the information. But there are some secrets that we have as a country. One of them is that our leaders and ourselves, the technical people, we do appreciate the fact that we're a natural resource-based country. And that for us to be able to provide services to our population, we must properly utilize the natural capital that is given. We have a big percentage of our population, more than 70%, subsistence agriculture, for example. We have a number of people that have the activities that are based on forest resources. And our composition of GDP growth, our growth comes from agriculture, that's the biggest thing, industry, and services, and all these are related. So we know from that background, and we're lucky that we've gotten a leadership that appreciates that fact, right from the highest office on this land to many of our ministers and many of our technical. But over time, I would like to be sincere to everybody that when it came to resource allocation and resource utilization, we've not been different from many, many countries, much as everybody appreciates. So the fact now that the technical people and with support from development partners, we come up and ably be able to say, look here, can have measures of this country wealthy, we can look at the changes in terms of land cover and land utilization through land accounts, we can look at the forest accounts, then we see a lot of appreciation and uptake from everybody. And that's why we've gotten a lot of our support. When we produced, we got results like Ronald was saying, from using natural capital accounts and the assessments, and we are preparing the NDP3, the uptake and the appreciation from people, leaders was very, very great. So, two things. Our secret is the appreciation from us, technical people, and our leaders. Two is readiness to utilize this information. And we also do have, like Ronald said, a technical working group from different ministries and agencies that are working closely together and sharing information. So teamwork is another thing that has made us succeed, and would like to keep this team together so that we move on. And there are different things really and also our history. When you look at the history of Uganda, really, and we've been the natural resources, and at what we've done before, the studies we've had, what has worked and what has not. So this enormous information with us. However, like he asked, that's now the side where we can see positive. We are going to keep this and sustain the NCA. But the challenges are so big. One of the challenges that I see is continuously having credible reports that people will keep looking for and that people will be ready to utilize. Okay? That's a challenge, because that challenge comes with the amount of data that you have at your disposal and the quality of that data. So that is still a challenge, and it is the challenge. Was a challenge, and challenge can be worked on. It's a challenge that we're taking heads on, and that we shall work on, been working on, and we shall make sure we work on it so that we have credible data, we have information accounts produced in place, we have accounts being appreciated. But I hope Ronald can add on, but that's from me. I think that is our secret. That is the challenge, especially on data gaps.
Thank you, Dr. Sam. Can we get to know whether Edward is back so that he can continue with the presentation? Edward, are you there? Hello, Edward? Okay, so if Leonard has something to add on what Dr. Sam has said, please, Leonard, go ahead.
I think that Ronald had to leave for another meeting.
Okay. So we can continue to open for questions from members. Dear members, the Q&A session is already on. Please, if you have question or clarification to the presenters, please go ahead.
So this is Sophia. I must first say that it has been fantastic to be part of this work in Uganda, and really great teamwork that we've seen, and it's an honor to have had a small part in this. And now, since there's so much ongoing in Uganda in this space, it's the Waves, under the Waves program that you just presented. Then there's ongoing great work together with WCMC. And you have also other initiatives. I think it would be very interesting to hear what do you think, members of the Uganda team, what would be the important next steps for you to take in your NCA work?
I know both Edward and Ronald are not here. We lost Ronald, so it's going to be me. One of the things is, yeah, we produced accounts, published them, but we still have more accounts that we need to still work in progress. And for example, we've done the forest account, but we need to move a step ahead, because, like I told you, when we are looking for us, when we're doing the adjusted macroeconomic indicators, look at the numbers from the account. So one of the things is like to cost the wood, how much a cubic meter of wood costs here. It's going to be like 30,000 shillings. That's less than $10. Now, if we had an opportunity to have the ecosystem services account, then that would give us more value for our natural capital. And this is where we're moving. We're moving, for example, to go to eco-services account, and also to be able to reach there, we have to make sure we have the right data. So data compilation is going to go on to make sure we produce more accounts, data verification, and data interrogation, make sure we have the best. But we shall continue to work as a team and to make sure that these accounts that we produce and briefs and the papers that come from our work are used by our team, that is the technical working group, plus the advocacy that we have going to. I would like to maybe to continue from here as I'm finishing answering this question, because it came from Sophia. Maybe Sophia should not listen to this. The other African countries that, the next way forward to move on is when you get a development partner coming, make sure you keep that development, especially when it's in an area that we as government and yet we are very sure. So this is a secret to the other African countries. The development partners have. That's enough, Peter, please.
Thank you, Dr. Sam. Dear members, do you have more questions? Or Sam, I had one more question, Sam, maybe for clarification. In terms of the findings and the policy recommendations that you came up from the work you did on the macro study that you did, how are these findings being put into use already, or how are you planning? What kind of influence will they have to the next policy planning and development process and the national development process?
Thank you, Peter. Very good question. And probably again, I would like to make the report really is a big report, and I think within the time given, I didn't do justice to it. But what I did was to make sure I bring out the salient issues for one to pick on and one to go in and for. The report is the big one, this one and the previous. And how are we making sure that it's used, and how are we making sure that it's influencing policies? We've got, apart from making sure it's disseminated to everybody, got strategic dissemination programs. For example, one of them is to make sure that we make a detailed presentation to the whole Ministry of Finance, all the directorates, and all the departments. Last year, when we made this presentation, which I made to the ministry, it's an example. The Department of Tax Policy Department came up strongly saying, yes, we can see it. And you know what question they asked me? Tell us what we should do. Yes, we proposed making sure that the investment into the clean energy is made a priority, making sure that we had a plant here making thermal energy, which we are giving to tax holder. Happily enough, that tax holder is being. So that's an example. But anyway, that's one of the things to look at. And the second one, which is really something that
Mais mon ami, on te dit atelier. Non, tu relativises tout simplement. C'est mettons après pour.
The second one.
Allez, qui ouvre les travaux?
Gabriela, can you mute? Can you mute this person?
The second one, Peter.
Thank you.
Is that we got a request from National Planning Authority coming to Minister of Finance Macroeconomic Policy Department, and basically we work with them, and it was like making it formal. The request was, can we, when we look at the monitoring framework of NDP3, can you kind of forecast what the two indicators will be and show us and the different models? And we've done this. For us now, when the NDP3 is going to be monitored in the next 5 years, we shall be looking at these indicators. It's a new, completely a new set of introduction. Lastly, last year, as we were preparing the budget, as it's time now for preparing the budget, as they are preparing, the budget department also, having heard what we're doing, and we had a list of recommendations, they asked for our paper. To tell you, one of the things they used this paper for was to increase spending on the, like we noticed here, we could sit down, but there was a slight increase that they wanted to make, and the justification came out clearly. So this is how it's being used, but the secret, if we do not keep advocating and telling people, look here, things are changing, things are bad or good, they will forget. So we have to keep talking to them, we have to keep reminding them, we have to write briefs so that they can, briefs, half a page, 1 page, you know what people read, so that they can be able to working on this. Thank you so much, Peter.
Thank you so much, Edward, for those explanations, very detailed. So we have one more question from the chat. Is Frederick Freda, I think, is asking, what is your take on the planned construction of Uganda-Tanzania? This is a very specific question. Uganda-Tanzania crude oil pipeline, which could severely affect Uganda's natural capital. Are there or have there been endeavors to calculate the potential economic costs arising from natural capital losses associated with the pipeline construction? I think the Team Uganda, any of you could do, try to answer this question from our colleague, I think from our colleague Frida.
Let me go. I can see Edward there also. Maybe
Yeah.
Edward, this is for us. But yes,
Yeah.
I would say yes. We know it. We know the pipeline, a heated pipeline running from central this is mid-Africa, the Albert area, running up to the coast, going to have impact on natural capital. Going to have impact in different ways. 1, there will be habitat loss. 2, there will be wildlife loss. 3, and there will be pollution, definitely. And we know that for a fact. And has there been calculations? Yes. For a pipeline, this pipeline, there was intensive environment and social impact assessment, which is available for public, which shows the loss and which shows the mitigation measures. And from the mitigation measures, what they put, Uganda is going to invest in as a country. We are putting in money because this is a separate project. Uganda is putting in, Tanzania is putting in, and other people, development partners who will join us. We know from this assessment that these should be mitigated. And I'm lucky, I've had time to read it. One of the things that is emphasized under PS6 by the funding bodies is to make sure that there's a net gain as far as natural capital loss is concerned. And they have mitigation measures. But summary, the loss is going to be there, but the mitigation measures must provide benchmark. And this is why we come in really strongly. So if we look at this loss in vegetation cover, there's loss in change in land use, and we report on it and say, look here, things are getting bad. then we can be able to have more money invested in wildlife management, forest cover regeneration, and vegetation cover. That's what I can say on that, and that's my take. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Dr. Sam. Edward, do you want to add something? Maybe, Edward,
yes.
Sorry that we lost you, but could we at least hear from you, most especially the key next steps are from the forest account in terms of, and what you want to share as lessons learned from producing that account, so that members of community can at least have some takeaway from the work that you've done. Thank you. Edward?
Then I think I can just jump straight to the policy implications of. I think that's why we lost our touch.
Yes.
There are about 6 policy points which I can run through quickly. We have seen that there's a loss of wood stock, mainly due to overharvesting of the forest on private land, and this is due to the suboptimal implementation of forest and management regulations. And we also saw that there's a need to address poor governance in the forest sector, and at the same time enhance capacity at the district level so that they can manage the forest assets on the private lands. Thirdly, we see that there is need for specific regulations and guidelines on tree production and silviculture management to enhance wood production on non-forest lands. We also saw that charcoal production is driven by high demand, and there's this high risk of wood stock depletion, which requires that a new market structure need be formulated so that the charcoal business is regionalized in terms of imposition of costs on extraction and renting. And fifthly, we saw there's need to improve our energy efficiency through adoption of improved cooking technologies, adoption of efficient co-production, establishment of plantations dedicated to fuel wood supply, enhancement of incentives for adoption of alternative energy sources, especially for cooking. The 6th point is we need to stimulate the establishment of timber plantations as a major base for wood stock in the country, so that we can protect what is left of the natural resource, of the natural forests. And we need more research in the non-wood forest products, including medicinal plants, bark cloth, rattan, gum, arabic, bamboo, resins, among others, so that they can easily be quantified to determine their contribution to the national GDP. And they also need to review the market structure and formalize the value chain for all forest products and services. So those are the quick run through the policy implications that I can share. Maybe after that, a contribution to what my colleague Sam has talked about the pipeline, to reiterate that the layout of the pipeline was done after a rigorous exercise to choose the path that gave the minimum impact on the environment. And it was a multi-institutional exercise, including actors like the National Forest Authority, all district local services, the oil companies, the NPA, and so many others. So where it is passing, actually, if you look at it, it avoided the major forest reserves. It only cut through, I think, one, and which was not heavily forested, but all where there was a major forest resource, that pipeline was diverted to make sure that the impact is minimum. That's what I can contribute to what my colleague Sam has contributed on the pipeline. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Edward. May I request that Miss Lucy give us an opportunity and say the few words, so that before we close, we are coming to the end of the session, and I would like to thank very much our presenters, from Leonard to Dr. Sam to Edward. Sorry, Edward, for the difficulties in terms of the technology. I hope next time it will be well. But Miss Lucy, we would want to hear from you as a message you give to our respective fellow African countries on what they can take from this, and before we close this session. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Peter. And it has been an engaging interaction. Despite the technology, we have been able to at least get something that we can take home. To each of you who has been part of the process, thank you for being part of the process. It is always a beginning, and I encourage you to be part of the process as we move forward. And from each other, and from us also. And I think the text has been institutionalizing NCA. That is the only way. Institutionalizing NCA and also collaboration. Collaboration has worked in Uganda. I think it can work anywhere else. Just give it a try. Let's learn by doing, and I believe you'll get where we are. It is 20 years now plus since we started this journey, and we are moving strong. And we are handing over to the next generation. Please be part of that process. Be part of that endeavor. Be part of that commitment. Be part of that passion. When I started straight from the university, it was a bit boring, but I was encouraged to move on. And today I'm proud to be making this statement today. I wish you all the best. Thanks, Peter, for moderating very well. And to our partners, we are ever so grateful. And to my colleagues, thank you for flying the Uganda flag high. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Miss Lucy, and thank you so much for all participants for taking this time. This session is recorded and it will be shared by all of you. We will be posting it on the Community of Practice website, and we will be sharing it to all our communication channels, even including WhatsApp group. Thank you so much, and looking forward to see you again. We're having the next country sharing experience of South Africa on 10th December, and we look forward to seeing you all. Thank you so much, and bye for now.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Team Uganda.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you all. Thank you.